Hello everyone, this is Victor here. Welcome to the Intelligent Investor channel. At the time of making this video, most US tech stocks are in a large correction. Most US tech stocks, in my opinion, are undervalued now. Several subscribers asked me to analyze Micron stock to see if it's undervalued now. So in this video, I'm going to analyze Micron stocks fundamentals to see if it's a great growth stocks for long-term investing. I will also show you how to calculate Micron stock's intrinsic value. You will learn about these topics in this video. Micron's business overview and financials, Micron's economic moat, Micron's long-term growth prospects, Micron's biggest risk, Micron stock valuation, and will I buy Micron stock? If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification button. I will continue to make many excellent stock reviews and investing videos every week that will help you become a great investor. Also, if you like this channel and want to support it, check out my Patreon blog in the video description and become a premium member. Our goal is to create the best intelligent investor community that will help all our members grow their stock portfolios to over 7 figures over time. With your support, we'll be able to stay independent, hire out our outstanding analysts to cover different stocks, and create many excellent stock reviews and investing videos every week that will help you become a great investor. The link is in the video description. Take a look, let's start. When it comes to investing in stocks, we have to understand the business first. So let's talk about Micron's business fundamentals first. Micron is a leading manufacturer of dynamic random access memory and NAND flash memories. Micron's DRAM products can be found in many personal computers, gaming computers, enterprise computers, cloud servers, data centers, smartphones, mobile devices, NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, networking devices, and autonomous driving vehicles. For example, Micron makes DDR4 and DDR5 SDR RAMs. Micron makes GDDR6 and GDDR6X RAMs that are used in many top-end NVIDIA and AMD GPUs. In addition to Micron's DRAM products, Micron makes NAND-based storage products such as solid-state drives, SSDs, for consumers and data centers. Micron also makes NAND flash memory products such as memory cards, USB drives, and flash memory that are in our smartphones and tablets. In addition to Micron's brand, Micron owns Crusoe, which makes SSDs and DRAMs for computers. Let me show you Micron's revenue breakdown here. This is from the most recent Q2 quarterly report. Micron's DRAM products contributed 73% of total revenue, and its NAND products contributed 25% of total revenue. Micron reports its revenues and operating income in these 4 business segments: Compute and Networking Business Unit, Mobile Business Units, Storage Business Units, and Embedded Business Units. Let's go over these 4 business segments here so you will know which businesses have the highest growth rates and growth potential going forward. Micron's Compute and Networking Business Unit earns the most revenue and operating income. This business includes memory products sold into client, cloud server, enterprise, graphics, and networking markets. There is a large demand for DRAMs, especially from enterprise customers, cloud providers, gamers, and GPU makers such as NVIDIA and AMD. You can see this unit had a very high revenue growth rate in the recent Q2 quarter. The mobile business unit includes memory and storage products sold into smartphone and other mobile devices. This business revenue growth is largely dependent on the smartphone market's growth every year. Right now, the smartphone market is very mature, and its growth rate has slowed down a lot in recent years. This is why you can see this business segment had a very low growth rate in the recent Q2 quarter. The storage business unit includes SSDs and storage-related solutions sold into enterprise and cloud, client and consumer storage markets. There's a large demand for SSD storage products, especially from enterprise clients and cloud providers. This is why you can see this business unit had a very high revenue growth rate compared to other business segments in the recent Q2 quarter. And finally, the embedded business unit includes memory and storage products sold into automotive, industrial, and consumer markets. This is another important business segment because there's a large demand for memory and storage products. You can see this unit had a high revenue growth rate in the recent Q2 quarter. In terms of financials, Micron has become a very profitable business. For example, in the recent Q2 quarter, Micron had a high gross margin of 47% and an operating margin of 33%. Micron also has a very healthy balance sheet. In the recent Q2 quarter, the company had 11.95 billion of cash equivalents and investments. It had 7 billion of current and long-term debt. This means the net cash is 4.87 billion. Here's the important part you want to know. Micron's business is very cyclical because Micron's sales growth is largely dependent on the demand and supply of DRAM and NAND products. If you look at Micron's financials here, you can see Micron's revenue growth operating income growth, operating cash flow growth, and free cash flow growth had been very cyclical in the past 10 years. Recently, Micron started paying dividends. At the time of making this video, Micron's forward dividend yield is 0.58%. Management said that they intend to return more than 50% of the cross-cycle free cash flow through dividends and share buybacks going forward. And if they believe the company is undervalued at large discounts to the intrinsic value, they will be more aggressive in their share buybacks. When it comes to investing, we have to be forward-looking. So let's talk about Micron's economic moat and long-term prospects. Personally, I believe Micron has a very narrow economic moat for these reasons. At the time of making this video, there are three major players that dominate the entire DRAM market. These three major players are Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. According to TrendForce, in Q4 2021, Samsung had the largest market share, SK Hynix had the second largest market share, and Micron had the third largest market share. Based on what I know, these three companies have been dominating the DRAM market for a while. Samsung and SK Hynix are South Korean companies. According to this article, Micron is the last US manufacturer of DRAM and NAND flash memory products. In the NAND flash memory market, this market is not as concentrated as DRAM market. The NAND flash memory market has many major players. According to TrendForce, in Q4 2021, Samsung had the largest NAND market share, followed by Kioxia, Western Digital, SK Hynix, and Micron. Here's the important part you want to know. Barriers to entry to the chipmaking business are extremely high because it's very capital intensive for new companies to make their own fabrication plants, develop their own leading node technologies to make their chips, and compete with the existing dominant players. Semiconductor companies have been consolidating for many years in order to stay competitive. They consolidate because they want to improve their chipmaking technologies, expand to more markets, expand their wafer capacities, improve their own economies of scale, and of course make more profits. This is why many smaller chip companies are often acquired by the larger players. For example, according to Micron's website here, you can see Micron had acquired many smaller companies in the past 10 years, ranging from Forward Next in 2019 to Elpida Memory in 2013 and Toshiba's DRAM business in 2002. In my opinion, in the DRAM market, I believe it's very hard for other companies to compete with Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. The DRAM industry is an oligopoly market dominated by three players. This is why I believe Micron has a narrow economic moat, even though DRAM and NAND memory products tend to be almost the same with similar pricing and similar performances. In terms of long-term prospects, I believe Micron does have great long-term prospects over the next 5 to 10 years. Here is why. According to Micron's latest earnings call, Micron's current 1-alpha DRAM and 176-layer NAND technology node are leading in their markets, and these new technologies are providing significant cost reductions to Micron's manufacturing processes. This is why Micron's gross margins have improved significantly in recent quarters. Management said this in the recent earnings call. Execution was outstanding with our industry-leading 1-alpha DRAM and 176-layer NAND technology node ramps, delivering strong cost reductions. Our portfolio transformation continues to gain momentum as we lead the industry on the DDR5 transition and grow our mix of NVMe data center SSDs. Following a solid first half, we're on track to deliver record revenue and robust profitability in fiscal 2022 and remain well positioned to create significant shareholder value in fiscal 2022 and beyond. In fiscal Q2, 1C and 1-alpha DRAM combined represented the majority of our DRAM bit shipments, while 176-layer NAND represented the majority of our NAND bit shipments. Our 1-alpha DRAM and 176-layer NAND products are achieving excellent yields, providing us with solid front-end cost reductions and contributing meaningful revenue. We qualify additional products on these advanced nodes with a broad set of customers, which sets us up for continued strong revenue ramp in the second half of the fiscal year. We are tracking several quarters ahead of the industry in ramping products based on these leading-edge process technologies. We are also investing to maintain technology leadership for the next decade and making good progress in the development of future technology nodes. At the time of making this video, there's a large demand for the most advanced DRAM and NAND memory products for data centers, servers, autonomous driving electric vehicles, 5G smartphones, gaming computers, enterprise computers, GPUs made by NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel, and any devices that need DRAM DRAM memories and NAND-based solid-state drives. Management believes that Micron's two fastest-growing markets are hyperscale data centers and electric vehicles with autonomous driving features because these markets require much more DRAM and NAND memory and storage products. Management said this: demand for memory and storage is broad, extending from the data center to the intelligent edge and to a growing diversity of user devices. Memory and storage revenue has outpaced the rest of the semiconductor industry over the last 2 decades, and we expect this trend to continue over the next decade, thanks to ongoing advance of AI, 5G, and EV adoption. Last year, data center became the largest market for memory and storage, eclipsing the mobile market. Looking ahead, we expect data center demand growth to outpace the broader memory and storage market over the next decade, fueled by secular drivers in cloud and healthy enterprise IT investment. The automotive and industrial segments are expected to be the fastest growing memory and storage markets over the next decade. Today, more than 10% of our revenue comes from these end markets, and we're exceptionally well positioned as a market share leader. In fiscal Q2, our auto revenue set a new record driven by robust demand for memory and storage. Auto unit production remains below demand, constrained by numerous supply chain challenges, including logic and analog semiconductor component shortage. Nevertheless, the demand for memory and storage remains strong, driven by auto content growth. New EVs are becoming like data center on wheels, and we expect over 100 new EV models to launch worldwide in this calendar year alone. These new EVs include advanced ADAS and in-vehicle infotainment features that have significantly higher memory and storage requirements. In fact, some of these Level 3 autonomous EVs have about $750 in memory and storage content, which is 15 times higher than the average car. In terms of revenue guidance, management said we expect calendar 2022 industrial bit demand growth to be in the mid to high teens for DRAM and at approximately 30% for NAND. We anticipate underlying demand in calendar 2022 to be led by data center, ongoing adoption of 5G smartphones, and continued strength in automotive and industrial markets. In October last year, Micron's management stated that they're planning to invest more than $150 billion over 10 years in leading-edge memory manufacturing and research and development. This suggests that there will be a large demand for Micron's memory and storage products over the next 10 years. Otherwise, Micron will not plan to invest $150 billion over the next 10 years in the leading-edge memory manufacturing processes. Management also said that in the 2025 to 2026 timeframe, they will need to add new wafer capacity for DRAM in order to continue to meet the increase in demand for the later half of the decade through the 2030 timeframe. Now, Micron does have many risks. Micron's first biggest risk is obviously competition. I mentioned this earlier. In the DRAM market, Micron faces a lot of competition from Samsung and SK Hynix. In the NAND flash memory market, Micron has many large competitors including Samsung, Kioxia, Western Digital, and SK Hynix. In my opinion, most DRAMs and NAND-based storage products are commodities with very similar performances and very few differences. This means Micron's competitors can offer lower prices in order to take more market shares. For Micron to stay competitive, Micron has to invest billions in the most leading-edge manufacturing processes to make products such as GDDR6X for NVIDIA's top-end GPUs, DDR5 for the next-gen computers and data centers, and 176-layer NAND-based solid-state drives for data centers. The second major risk is that Micron's business is very cyclical. Micron's revenue is largely dependent on DRAM and NAND prices every quarter. DRAM and NAND prices are largely dependent on the supply-demand balance of DRAM and NAND products. For example, in 2019 and 2020, DRAM and NAND prices dropped a lot. During this period, you can see Micron's revenue and operating income also drop a lot. The major risk is this: if there's an oversupply of DRAM and NAND products, their prices will drop significantly, which will lead to much lower revenues for Micron, similar to 2019 and 2020. The third biggest risk is inflation risk. Every semiconductor company is facing the same inflation risk. If there are more COVID-19 restrictions in China that will disrupt Micron's production there, or if the Ukraine war continues longer, or if commodity and raw material prices continue to increase, these higher costs may eventually impact Micron's gross margin. Let's calculate Micron stock's intrinsic value so we'll know whether Micron stock is undervalued, fairly valued, or overvalued. I always use this intrinsic value calculator here to calculate a stock's intrinsic value. If you want this calculator, you can download it in my Patreon blog in the video description. Here are the key assumptions. First, I define Micron's intrinsic value as its future cash flows discounted to the present day. The discount rate is 10%. This is higher than the 8.5% cost of equity from Finbox.com. I used a high discount rate here to be more conservative. Micron's most recent 12 months of free cash flow is $4.86 billion. Based on the long-term growth prospect I talked about earlier, I believe Micron's free cash flow will grow at a compound annual growth rate CAGR between 10% and 20% over the next 5 years. I believe this is a reasonable estimate. In comparison, Micron's EBITDA grew at a CAGR of 29.77% in the past 5 years. To calculate the terminal value at the end of year 5, we are using both the perpetual growth and exit multiple models here. Then we take the average of both models to calculate the terminal value. Let's go over these 3 case scenarios here: worst case, normal case, and best case scenarios. Under the worst case scenario, we're using a compound annual growth rate CAGR of 10% over the next 5 years. If we forecast Micron's free cash flow for the next 5 years and discount the free cash flow to the present day, Micron's intrinsic value should be around $66 billion for the entire company, or $58 per share. I'm giving this scenario a 25% probability here. Under the normal case scenario, we're using a compound annual growth rate CAGR of 15% over the next 5 years. If we forecast Micron's free cash flow for the next 5 years and discount the free cash flow to the present day, Micron's intrinsic value should be around $80 billion for the entire company, or $70 per share. I'm giving this scenario a 50% probability here. Under the best case scenario, we're using a compound annual growth rate CAGR of 20% over the next 5 years. If we forecast Micron's free cash flow for the next 5 years and discount the free cash flow to the present day, Micron's intrinsic value should be around $96 billion for the entire company, or $85 per share. I'm giving this scenario a 25% probability here. If we add all these numbers here, Micron's intrinsic value should be around $71 per share. In comparison, Morningstar estimated Micron's fair value to be much higher at $90 per share. This means Micron stock should be fairly valued or undervalued at the time of making this video. So will I buy Micron stock? The answer is it depends on the price. I will likely buy a small position in Micron stock if it's substantially undervalued and have a much larger margin of safety to count for Micron's risk. I don't have Micron stock in my portfolios at the time of making this video. I believe Micron's biggest risk is that its business is very cyclical. Micron's revenue growth is largely dependent on DRAM and NAND prices. If there's a large decrease in DRAM and NAND prices, or if there's an oversupply of DRAM and NAND products, Micron's revenues and profits will drop significantly, and similar to 2019 and 2020. Based on my estimates, I believe Micron's intrinsic value is around $71 per share. I will update Micron's intrinsic value every quarter whenever it releases its earnings. If you want the latest intrinsic value update, you can download it on a Patreon in the video description. Now, all these estimates are only my opinions and my analysis based on my research. They are not financial wise. There are always risks associated with investing. It's important to always invest in what you know and not speculate. You will need to do your own research and do your extra due diligence first before investing in anything. Thank you for watching this video and supporting our channel. This is Victor from the Intelligent Investor channel, and I will see you in the next video.